Hi friends, welcome to Jules Reads. I'm Jules. This is what I read and watched week 34 of 2025. I do this outside no matter what in Minnesota. It is 66 degrees today, Fahrenheit, and it's a little windy. So I have my microphone on, so hopefully the wind doesn't sound too noisy. And some backyard creatures I've seen this week in our backyard is a woodchuck, which I thought it was a rat because I think it's lost some hair. And so that really freaked me out a little bit. And actually, I have a caterpillar crawling around right in front of me on our table right here. I think it might be the same caterpillar from last week. He's just changed colors a little bit. He's coming right at me right now. And then also I saw, oh, we had a little frog on our table. So that is the backyard creatures we have this week. But this is a video where I like to talk about what I read and watched this week. And let's get right into it. I did finish 2 books, so I'm excited to talk about those. One is, I'm watching this caterpillar. One is, maybe if I block him, I don't want him crawling up on me. One is The Long Walk by Stephen King. I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can read some of my notes. This was published in 1999 by Signet. It has 370 pages and a 4.06 average rating on Goodreads. And this was written under the pen name Richard Bachman. I did listen to this on audio and I'm giving it 5 stars. It is a dystopian novel about a brutal contest in which 100 teenage boys must continuously walk without stopping. They're supposed to walk 4 miles per hour. And I think if they get 3 warnings, then they're killed if they don't keep that pace. And the story follows Ray Garrity, one of the walkers, as he forms fragile bonds with other boys, endures exhaustion and physical torment. He reflects on his life and even death, but ultimately the walk becomes a chilling metaphor for endurance, conformity, and the human will to live. The movie adaptation is set to come out in theaters on September 12th, and it stars Cooper Hoffman, who is actually the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm looking around for this caterpillar, wondering if he's crawling up my arm. Yeah, so the main star of the movie coming out is the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I am super excited to see that. Gave it 5 stars. I thought the audio narration was fantastic. And then the next book that I finished, which is probably going to be one of my favorites of the year. Right now, I think it is my favorite of the year, and that is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. This just came out this year, so it is a new release, and I apologize for the lighting. The sun is going in and out of clouds. But it is set on a remote fictional shearwater island somewhere between Tasmania and Antarctica. It follows Dominic and his 3 kids, Rafe, Finn, and Orly, as they serve as the final caretakers of the island's United Nations seed vault, critical for preserving global biodiversity amid climate collapse. And then soon into the book, a battered woman lands on shore and they nurse her back to health. Her name is Rowan, and it builds layers of tension. And then there's a lot of grief in this book, which was actually kind of hard for me to read just because last year been going through a lot of grief. My favorite character in the book is definitely Orly, the youngest. He is 9 years old and he is just wise beyond his years. He's an expert at plants and the seeds, and then also animals. I loved that kid. And the book did rip my heart out a little bit, but I thoroughly enjoyed my experience reading this, and I definitely want to pick up Migrations by Charlotte. I had already read Once There Were Wolves by her, and I didn't love it. So I also think I need to reread that because I'm pretty sure it was me at the time and not the book. You know, I just really feel like you have to read the book at the right time in your life. And so I don't think it's an author problem. I think it was me, and I'd love to reread that. I love this book, and I can confidently recommend this to anyone. All right, for what I'm currently reading, I'm reading 2 books right now. The audiobook I'm listening to is the Dresden Files first book. It's called Stormfront, and this is by Jim Butcher. I'm not normally a fantasy reader, but I had heard about this book from Mike at Mike's Book Reviews here on YouTube, and the way he describes this series had my interest. This is an urban fantasy taking place in Chicago. about a wizard for hire named Harry Dresden. He also consults the police when there are supernatural cases. In this story, Harry is called to investigate a grisly double murder where the victims' hearts have literally exploded from their chest, clearly the work of dark magic. At the same time, he's hired by a woman searching for her missing husband who may be dabbling in dangerous forces. I'm liking this book a lot. The audio is narrated by James Marsters. He is best known for playing Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. At first, I was not a fan of the narration, as you can hear the breathing and like the sniffles almost. And I just was like, what? But I know that the audio has great reviews. So I was like, I looked into it a little bit, and it's because they feel like those things are actually like Harry's character doing that. So they really feel like James Marsters' portrayal of him doing those things is how Harry would sound. So then once I knew that, it clicked a little bit better with me and I was enjoying the audiobook more. And I heard that this book is fans of the series' least favorite book, which a lot of times the first book is one of their favorites. But so I would give this a 3, I think, so far. I'll let you know next week my final thoughts, but I definitely want to continue in this series because if this is the least best, if this is people's least favorite in the series, I want to learn more about Harry and learn of his adventures. And I'm not normally a fantasy reader, like I said, but urban fantasy I think has my interest because it takes place partly in the real world. And I love Chicago. So there we go. There's also a lot of humor in this book, which I'm enjoying. And the next book, which I just started, is Perfume by Patrick Suskind, The Story of a Murderer. This is the one I bought in the Edinburgh, Scotland Waterstone bookstore. And the bookseller, when I asked her where it was, she's like, oh, it's a book upstairs. And there's a girl with, and the bookseller had red hair like this. She said, and there's a girl on the cover with beautiful long red hair. She's going like this. I will never forget that story and where I bought this book. But I just started this. This was actually first published in German in 1985. This version is translated by John E. Woods, and it's 296 pages. And it's about a baby, Jean-Baptiste. He was abandoned on the streets of Paris in the 1700s. I'm only on page 25, so the only thing I've really grasped so far is that no one can smell the baby. Like, you know, they talk about how babies have a sweet smell and they smell really good. This baby does not smell. But then the baby is starting to realize that its sense of smell is really heightened. I do know a little bit about this just from the movie. I think I watched the movie many, many years ago. I'm definitely going to rewatch the movie after I finish this book. But I will get more into this book next week after I finish it. Like I said, I'm only 25 pages in. And then books I hauled, which this is interesting. I picked up Butcher by Joyce Carol Oates. I have wanted to read Joyce Carol Oates for a really long time. I was really looking for a zombie, but I found this book. And it says, in this harrowing story based on authentic historical documents, we follow the career of Dr. Silas Weir, the father of gynopsychiatry, as he ascends from professional anonymity to national renown. Humiliated by a procedure gone terribly wrong, Weir is forced to take a position at the New Jersey Asylum for Female Lunatics. There he is allowed to continue his practice unchecked for decades. I have read a few books about women's asylums. One I read last year called The Mad Woman of Paris. That was really good. And what was the other? I read a couple last year, and they were excellent. Disturbing, but excellent. And so I'm looking forward to this. I have heard great things about Joyce Carol Oates, and I've never read her before. The interesting thing that happened was I picked this up Friday, and then the book review today, which just happened to me last week as well, it had a little blurb about Butcher. I think it must be new to paperback because it says paperback row. They usually do a paperback row where they highlight 3 books in this section. And they say, Oates, one of the most prolific modern novelists, shows no sign of slowing down with this gothic horror story about a 19th century women's asylum and the depraved experiments of its leader, the father of gynopsychiatry. Our reviewer, Daphne Merkin, warned that the tale is gruesome, but worth it for Oates' empathetic and discerning commentary on women's rights, the abuses of patriarchy, and the servitude of the poor. I think that sounds amazing, and I'm looking forward to reading that. The other book I picked up, it's called Hell of a Book by Jason Mott, and it says National Book Award winner. Watching a Ann Patchett video. She has her own channel here on YouTube for her bookstore, and she was talking about another book, which I'll mention in a few seconds here. But I saw a Jason Mott book on the shelves by her, and I have seen his books around, and I wanted to put them up. So this says it is in Jason Mott's Hell of a Book, a Black author sets out on a cross-country tour to promote his best-selling novel. At the same time, Soot, a young Black boy living in a rural town in the recent past, is trying to survive, and the kid, a possibly imaginary child, appears to the author on his tour. So this sounds really good. Looking forward to that one. And then the books on my radar this week that I heard about and I would like to get, Buckeye by Patrick Ryan. I heard about this on Ann Patchett's channel. It hasn't been released yet. It'll be released on September 2nd. It says it's wise and heartbreaking. It weaves the lines of two Midwestern families across generations, from World War II to the late 20th century in a small Ohio town. And then the other one I heard about from Angela's Bookcase channel here on YouTube was Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. It was published in 2013 and was Hannah's debut novel. It's inspired by a true story. It's the final days of a young woman accused of murder in Iceland in 1829. And I heard it's just beautifully written and amazing for a debut. All right, let's get into movies and TV. So we did finish Survivor season 23 and we're on to season 24 now. We just started Survivor a few weeks ago. We've never watched it before, but we did start on season 20. We just didn't want to go too far back. And we just didn't want too many episodes to watch, which we still have a million to watch. And then I did finish Fingersmith. I talked about this last week. This came out in 2005, and I watched this on BritBox. It's a 3-episode miniseries. It's based on the book by Sarah Waters, which I did DNF. I found the book boring, and I just was not enjoying it. But I had heard that there is some really good twists in it, so I wanted to watch the show so I knew what the twists were. And now I know what the twists were, and they are really good. I like the show. I would recommend it if you have BritBox, but I wouldn't go out and get BritBox if you don't already own it. All right, I guess it's spooky season already for me because I have 2 scary movies, spooky movies to talk about, and one is The Exorcist from 1973. I almost bought this book a couple weeks ago, and the book's on the blurb, it said, scariest book ever written. And I thought, do I want to read that or not? Maybe I should watch the movie first. I was not scared at all by the movie. What do you guys think? Like, is it because it's older that's not scary to us now? I'm sure it was frightening back then, but also it's kind of cringy. Like the things that the child says when she's possessed is laughable almost. So I like it. I didn't love it. I don't know that I'm going to read the book now, so maybe it's a good thing that I watched the movie. What do you think? Have you read it before? Should I read it? I don't know. And then the other one I'm super excited to talk about, I actually saw it in the theater, is Weapons. This is written, directed by Zach Greger, starring Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. If you like horror movies, this is a must-see. And I highly suggest you see it in the theater to have that experience and go at a time where there's going to be other people in the theater because that was super fun. Definitely go with a friend. I wasn't too scared. There was a couple little parts where I was like, oh my gosh. But there was actually a lot of humor in it that I just found hilarious. It opens up immediately with telling the audience that a whole entire classroom, except for one boy and the teacher, run out of their own houses and disappear at 2:17 a.m. I can't go too much more into detail just because I don't want to give any spoilers away. And I had no idea going into it what it was going to be about, and that is definitely the right way to go into it. And my favorite character was probably the character James, played by Austin Abrams. Again, if you're a horror movie fan, I highly suggest this and go with a friend. All right, I think that is all I have for this week. Are you into spooky season yet? And what are you reading and watching? I would love to hear all of that. And I will chat with you guys next week.